What makes a difference? Skill or aim? It's a common belief that the better you are at aiming, the better you are at gaming. That was corny, but you get what I mean. See, there are people all around the globe training their aim just so that they can hit that nasty flick that seems impossible, or outskill a player because they're just better. It's really easy to say that aiming is like 90% of what you do in games, but what if I told you you had it all wrong? Before this video starts, make sure you're subscribed to be part of the sub 1K squad. I appreciate every single one of you, and there's going to be something very special for you guys in the future, so make sure not to miss out. Also, if you join my Discord down below, give me a suggestion in the server, and I'll give you a special role for being an OG. I'll give you a sec, don't worry, just pause the video, do that, come back. Back to the video. What makes someone a pro is mastering the game, which involves everything from memorizing health pack locations, to decision makings, to callouts, to knowing when it's a good time to take a break. And what truly defines a player in their field is not just being able to hit those nasty flicks, but knowing when to. We see this with many Pro League players, let's say for example Dante in Overwatch. He's one of the best Sombra/Tracer players in the world, and he blows the crowd away with his game-deciding plays. Would you say it's all aim? I think the majority of you guys would disagree. The reason he's so good is because he's been able to make lightning-fast decisions with just enough information to make a move. It's single-handedly the hardest thing to master, but also the most rewarding, especially when you know the enemy team has better aim than you. But what does that mean in terms of things we can understand? It first and foremost means that 1. A player with better aim and less game sense is going to get rolled by any experienced player, and 2. A player with both insane aim and insane skill is what creates a god. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that any player with both skill and aim can be a god tier player. It actually goes much deeper. The life of an esports player is one of hard work, dedication, and so much practice. It's a lifestyle that takes a constant grind and honing one's skills to do what 99.9% of players can't. Now, this is useful information for improving, right? But what happens to those people that can't seem to improve any longer? This can be defined as a skill cap. A skill cap is when someone is the best that they can be at something, which really means doing the best that they've ever done. Of course, knowing as much as you can about a game is going to help you in the long run, much better than aim training. But normally, you wouldn't really want things to have a limit on how good it can be, would you? It's always fun to try and get better at something because there's always something to do. But if there's nothing more for you to achieve, what is there to do? Well, some people are different, and for many it's easy to just keep playing the game the way you were and learn new things. But for those very few that think they know everything about a game, there's always something more. In Team Fortress 2, what makes a good player isn't just playing heavy and shooting down a target with a pocket behind you. It's playing soldier and rocket jumping behind the enemy and getting this crazy triple kill to dominate the leaderboard. The most fun to be had in video games is trying something new and watching it work. It's why Fortnite was the leading game in shooters for almost a year. Practice, innovation, and most of all skill is what makes players the best. So how do you do what they do? How do you become a god at whatever game you play? The answer is more simple than you realize. You have to stop making mistakes. Playing the game as much as you can while preventing tendencies from happening is possibly the one and only thing you need in order to improve. Everyone is going to experience a plateau of their aim at some point, but that's not what I mean. I mean, make as little mistakes as you can, as fast as you can. Overloading yourself with a ton of VOD reviews isn't recommended, but you can seriously get better really quickly by just being aware of the things you do wrong. Like if I'm told to back up, I just make a mental note that I need to keep myself in cover as much as possible. Or if I'm playing Baptiste and I'm DPSing too much, it's a no-brainer that I need to take a break and focus on my team for a bit. You should try to look at a VOD that you've played in a really bad game and try to count all the mistakes you made. If the number's over 10 in 10 minutes, you're definitely doing something wrong. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect either. But this is something that my girlfriend did for the longest time, and she somehow climbed from being a gold player to a masters player in a season. Skill isn't just, this guy shot me through a wall, it's saying, what gave him the advantage over me in that situation? Because there's always something you can do to put him in that exact same position and win that 1v1 or teamfight. Luck can be a factor in here, yes, but more often than not, the person that got the better of you either peeked an angle that he knew you wouldn't expect, or did something that you'd never think he'd do. Any advantage over the enemy is a simple enough way to lead to a win, and the more advantage you have, the easier it is to win. If you want examples, I'd honestly suggest looking at winning military tactics, especially for a game like Overwatch. A charge is an offensive maneuver in battle in which combatants advance towards their enemy at their best speed in an attempt to engage in a decisive, close combat, or more easily defined as a rush comp. We see Overwatch League footage of San Francisco Shock using this tactic extremely well, where they rush in with Lucio's speed, amped heals, and Super's Reinhardt plowing through the front line with an unreasonable amount of damage. It can be replicated in plenty of other games like CSGO, where rushing B no stop is the meta. I'm not even gonna add that part, that's just stupid. Why the hell would you? That's just stupid. High ground can be defined as an area of elevated terrain which can be useful in combat. Take sniping for example. Just by taking the high ground, you're able to see almost 20% more head than you would be on the ground. This equals 20% more damage overall, and essentially it's as powerful as a Mercy damage boost. Ambushing. Ambushing can be defined as making a surprise attack on someone from a concealed position. This can be identified as a Reinhardt going off in a crazy backline pin that pushes the enemy into your defensive line, or a coordinated repositioning behind the enemy team to use your element of surprise to your advantage. Flanking. The flanking maneuver is a basic military tactic with several variations. Flanking an enemy means attacking from one or more sides at an angle to the enemy's direction of engagement. It's probably the first thing that comes to mind when you try to outmaneuver an enemy. This is anything from a soldier peeking an angle on the top to a Ryan going behind the team for a huge shadow that wins them the game. These are all things that have worked in real life, and it's exactly the kind of thing that'll help you win your games more consistently. It isn't using your hand, it's using your head. Now to sum up everything I've said so far, remember that made up statistic I made earlier in the video? How 90% of what you do in FPS shooters is aim and like 10% is everything else? In my opinion, it nets closer to 30% aim, 70% skill. The most important part is getting out of the mentality that shooting shields is all you can do, when in reality most maps give you a plethora of opportunities to get around it. What I mean by adapting is, stop using the excuse, my teammates are bad and we lost. Because even though a team-based shooter like Overwatch forces you to rely on people, it doesn't mean that you can't pick up their slack. Take D.Va for example, right? Her kit is entirely created to help her teammates. Whether it be eating a damage from a hook, or swallowing a high noon before it can kill your team, D.Va and other characters like this are meant to keep your team in the running. And the more you use this mentality, the better you are at carrying your team. The ability to adapt is key in everything. Adapting as Mercy to switch off healing to kill a Widow, or adapting as Ryan to be aware of the healers that can actually heal you, or even adapting as McCree or Soldier in knowing that your Ryan isn't in front and it might be a smart idea to back up and go to a better position. I appreciate you guys sticking it out to the end. You should definitely subscribe to be part of the sub 1000 squad. Dropping a like would mean the world to me, man. Tell me if I missed anything in the comments and I'll be sure to reply if I can. I'll see you in the next video. Keep yourself safe. Peace.